as usual, so that's wonderful. I missed you all, but not too much. It was a week off for me, so it's good to be back again. Will you pray with and for me, please? Holy One, shine the light of your love and grace upon us. Open our spirits to your wisdom and hope for all people. So again, Happy New Year. This is this first Sunday of the new year, the new decade of the 2020s, although I know technically it doesn't start until next year. But we're just going to pretend that it does actually start now, because that's what it feels like, right? We are in the 20s, the 2020s. Now, those of us who had time off during the holidays or lighter workload because of the holidays, we are heading back to regular work hours tomorrow. Yeah. School starts again, right? It's back to the usual routine. I'm sorry, the holidays are done. Christmas trees are being taken down. Ours obviously isn't yet. And so are the menorahs and the Kwanzaa Kinara and the Yule log. All those holiday trappings have been put away for another year. Now, I have to say, it is a tough time of year for me, and I think probably for others too, that hope and anticipation of New Year with clear pages on our calendars and empty planners just waiting for us to fill them with goals and tasks completed and all the events we have coming up. Now, we know intellectually that the days are growing longer and the nights shorter, but it can be hard to believe it when the weather's cold and snowy, in spite of what Roxanne wants, and we're going to work in the dark and coming home in the dark, and there's no bright holiday just a month or two away. I mean, okay, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is inspiring. Valentine's Day is a good time to have a fancy dinner if you're partnered. And if your team is playing, the Super Bowl is a lot of fun, a good excuse for snacks and great commercials. But all of those wrapped together just don't add up to Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa. But before we do all that putting away, okay, there's one more. There's Epiphany, which we heard a little bit about from Kathy. Sometimes it's called Little Christmas. It's the 12th night after Christmas. That's the 12 days of Christmas, and it marks the arrival of the wise men. They actually weren't kings, magi, which is what the Bible says were astrologers and soothsayers, and they studied the stars. So it marks their arrival to visit the newborn Jesus. Now, in the account in Luke, Mary, Joseph, and Jesus go back to Nazareth, not to Egypt. And so that's where the wise people find them, the wise ones find them. We aren't actually told how many of them there are. We always think of them as being 3 because they gave 3 gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Later tradition gave them names, Casper, Melchior, and Balthazar. And it was also decided by tradition that one was European, one was Middle Eastern, and one was black, to reflect what was known of the whole world at that time in the Renaissance and so on. So to show that the whole world came and worshipped Jesus. It was very symbolic, right? The 3 gifts were said to foreshadow Jesus' life. Gold, representing him as ruler. Frankincense, indicating that he was divine, because that was incense that was burned at altars. And myrrh, as a prediction of the importance of his death, because myrrh was used to embalm bodies. So this is all interesting, and as a former English major and admitted literary nerd, I love all the symbology and double meanings, and I could keep on going for a couple of hours, but we're not here for a lecture, so I will stop there. But there is a deeper truth here. Those wise ones had studied the stars and saw something new. They researched it and discovered that according to their sources, it indicated the birth of a ruler for Israel. So they followed the star to Jesus. Now, modern day astronomers are not quite sure what it was that they saw, that they followed. Possible contenders are conjunctions of various planets, a comet, a very large meteor possibly, although that wouldn't have lasted for 12 days. They would have been on the road for a while, as Kathy said, 12 days. But the point is that those wise ones sought wisdom. They were trying to figure out what was going on, and then when they thought they knew, they wanted to follow that star, that indication of where he was, and they brought gifts. And it's not a bad metaphor for seekers of any kind. You know, we use Epiphany now, the most common use of Epiphany. People don't think of the holiday, they think of the moment of enlightenment, or when they've learned something and the light bulb goes on. That's called an epiphany. And that's usually where you hear the word used. And seekers are seeking that epiphany, that aha moment. We want to know more. We research, we follow the trail, and when we encounter someone with the knowledge or wisdom we're looking for, we give them gifts, right? Or we give others gifts in their name. There's a folk tale associated with the wise ones in Italy and Spain and probably other places as well of La Befana. Does anybody know the story of La Befana? She's an old woman who puts up the wise ones for the night. They're traveling and they're looking for a place to stay, and she gives them a place to stay for the night. And she's fascinated by what they're telling her of this child they're looking for, and they invite her to come with them. But she wants to set her house in order and gather gifts for the child, so they leave without her. So after they leave, she sets out shortly after them, and she tries to catch up, but she can't. And so she wanders the world still today, looking for the Christ child, leaving gifts wherever she finds children, in case one of them is the Christ child. Are we the wise ones, or are we La Befana? The wise ones found Jesus. La Befana is still searching, but she gives gifts to all children, so maybe we're a little bit of both. In this dark season of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere, the stories of the wise ones in La Befana can remind us of our need to search and to learn and to give to others. My grandmother used to say, if your hands are cold, wash the dishes. She meant that there's always something to be done, and the doing of it will be an accomplishment in its own right, as well as focusing us outside our own mind and helping others. Because you know that when you wash the dishes, your hands warm up, right? As I said, this time of year feels difficult. I personally just want to curl up with a good book and a cup of coffee and not come out until mid-March sometime, frankly. The state of the world we live in right now is frightening. Wildfires destroying Australia. I don't know if you've seen the pictures and the maps where they lay the map of Australia over the map of the U.S. It's basically everywhere, and that's the size of it. Floods and earthquakes in various places, people unable to find work, sleeping in the streets, hungry, children without parents forcibly separated from them, an atmosphere of fear and distrust of people who are different in any way. The threat of war, which hits home for me particularly. As many of you know, my son is in the Army Reserves, and in a specialty that may very well be called up. How can we say the light has come into the world? The truth is, there is much to learn, people to lift up, and dishes to wash. None of us doing this work alone can bring the light. Together, we can shine like 1,000 suns. We each have gifts and talents. I hope you all know what your gifts and talents and strengths are. If not, come talk to me. We use them to bring that light. We are teachers, healers, comforters, advocates, encouragers. And we use those gifts to bring that light through actual teaching, through being a public defender, lawyer, through being a friend, through being a good parent, all those things. We use these gifts to bring that light. But sometimes we aren't sure how our gifts can be used. We feel like it's maybe not enough what we are doing. In this quiet, sort of downtime in between, can we open our eyes to follow the star of wisdom, to learn, to give to others, to wash a few dishes? Those clear calendars and empty planners will be filling up quickly with appointments, meetings, to-do lists, parties, maybe concerts, and family events. In the midst of all that, we can be lights wherever we are. Make room for dishwashing and follow that star of wisdom. In all God's names, amen.
Amen.